A huge thanks to Symbiosis Gear, Jolly Gear, and Skygoat for sponsoring this episode. If you listen through the show today, you have an opportunity to win some free swag from Skygoat. I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you know a little bit about the hiking community, and you probably know enough to know that there are some pretty famous names out there. Well, I was lucky enough to talk to one of those quote unquote famous people, even though they don't actually think of themselves as such. So today is the first half of a two-part episode with my conversation with Nick Rakestraw, better known as Darwin. Darwin is one of the bigger names in the thru-hiking community, not only for the gear company that he recently started called Evolve Supply Co., but also for his lightweight backpack rigs, the adventures that he's been on, and more importantly, the videography, podcasting, and the writing that he's done to share all of those stories with you, the listeners, or his following. I guess they're following at this point. Anyways, in our chat, we talk a little bit about something that you might not expect. We're talking about imposter syndrome and elitism in the hiking community, two themes that we've touched on a little bit already this year with our new outlook on kind of breaking down or deconstructing the hierarchy in the thru-hiking world, because it's really all just walking outside, isn't it? I'm one of your hosts, Yeti Legs, and you're listening to the Yeti Walks into Base Camp Talking Thru Hiking podcast, a show for hikers, backpackers, thru-hikers, tree huggers, and anyone who just loves to walk outside. Our podcast is about hiking, and we want to make it more accessible for all of you by telling stories, sharing information like our chat today, and having folks on that offer advice, gear, and peace of mind. We also like to talk about environmental subjects and what's happening on our planet, because knowledge is power, and as lovers of the great outdoors, we want all of us to feel a bit more empowered. All right, let's hit the trail. What's going on, Trail family, Tramily? I'm one of your hosts for the podcast Yeti Walks into Base Camp, talking through hiking. I'm Yeti Legs. Today we got an interview with another fellow thru hiker. I would give him like a really big introduction, but I honestly don't know that he needs one. But I'll let you introduce yourself.
I mean, I'll take it just to hear what you got.
Okay. So whenever Marie and I hiked the PCT in 2022, we heard four, like, I call them famous hiker names. We kept hearing these names from other hikers. You know, people would say they watched their videos on YouTube to prep for their hike, or they were really inspired by these people to come out and do a thru hike. And those names were Jupiter, Quadzilla, Dixie, and Darwin. And today, we've got Darwin here with us on our show, Nick Darwin Rakestraw. Yeah. How's it going, man? It's glad
you pronounce my last name right.
Rakestraw?
Like, yeah, I know. It seems like when you read it, it seems easy, doesn't it? Most people are like, Rakestraw, Rakestraw. And I'm just like, it's the word rake and the word straw butted up against each other.
Rakestraw.
Yeah, dude, I get so many weird
that's
ones.
Painful.
Yeah, it's always weird, especially from like bill collectors and stuff like that over the years. Like always, and they're like, "Is this Mr. Rakestraw?" And I'm like, "Nope, wrong number."
Learn how to pronounce, buddy.
Yeah. How's it going, man? How are you?
Good. I'm also super stoked that you've got like a legitimate professional mic here. Your audio sounds great.
years of audio engineering, man, in a previous life. So yeah, stickler for it.
Are you?
Oh yeah, big stickler for audio. You got bad audio, like in a video or a podcast, I'm turning it off. I just can't handle it. And my ears are just like annoyed to no end by bad audio.
Uh-huh. I tell you what, you really get what you pay for when you get all this audio equipment. Like,
oh yeah,
even the little like pop cloud here that I've got, like it's been a game changer.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The Puzz.
Oh yeah.
So I've got you on the show, and I want to talk about something that you said is actually a pretty interesting subject because it's come up recently in your life. But I want to talk to you first about elitism in the thru-hiking community or the hiking world. And then I would like to talk a little bit about your business, because I see a whole bunch of gear on the shelf behind you right now. And no one can see it, but I can. And then you've got a really exciting project that I think a lot of folks would want to hear about. And maybe we can snag a follow-up interview to see how that project went when you're done with it.
Yeah, project's a good way to put it. I would put it as being like an absolute masochism sufferfest over like the next month. But I'll take project. That sounds more exciting, I guess. More promising than my ass getting just hammered by a bike saddle for 2,700 miles. Project sounds better.
Dude, I don't envy you on that. My balls and my tailbone would be numb the entire time.
Oh yeah. It's just kind of part of it. It comes with the territory.
But before we get into it, I actually, like I was telling you before we started recording, I don't know much about like the quote unquote famous hikers in the thru-hiking community. And I don't really know much about you. So I'd love to hear kind of like what your origin story is and what trails you've bagged.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been, I guess, long distance hiking now for 11 years. So I went to go do my first trail in 2015, the Appalachian Trail. My wife and I did it together. Before that, I give you a little bit of precursor. I'm from Southern Indiana, grew up in Evansville, Indiana, second largest city in Indiana, which isn't saying much. And my wife and I have been married 19 years next week, and we had a house and we both had careers. I was a machinist, tool and die maker by trade. And I also owned and operated a recording studio, hence the audio snobbery. And we got inspired by watching a documentary about 4 guys hiking the AT. It came out, I think in 2001, called Trek. Have you ever seen that? It's real old, hard to find.
No.
Okay. Couple guys like carrying around a camcorder. I remember because it was during 9/11. It was when they were doing it, because they were on trail when it happened. So that's where it sticks in your brain, right? Watch this documentary, absolutely fall in love. Start getting into, reading books like Jennifer Farr Davis's Becoming Odessa, which is still my all-time favorite book about hiking. If you haven't read Becoming Odessa, a little shout out to Jen here. If you haven't read Becoming Odessa, I think it perfectly captures like your first thru hike. Just absolutely, like, it was so romantic, and it's a messed up book. There are all kinds of messed up stuff that happens, but it was just so romantic when I read it. Right. So we both quit our jobs. I quit my job, sell my business. She quits her job. We got rid of our house and moved into a minivan, me, her, and a big black lab. And we, started traveling full time, went to a hike the Appalachian Trail. And ever since then, I've hiked a little over 15,000 miles. Let's see, AT, PCT, CDT, and then a bunch of the smaller ones kind of in between. Arizona Trail, Colorado Trail. You went to Highline Trail, the Pinhoti Trail, and then a bunch of hiking and various trekking and stuff around the world. So a bunch of hiking in the Himalayas, the Alps, a little bit in the Andes. Mm-hmm. So tried to get into a lot of different mountain chains and have some different international cultural experiences, and done a lot of bike packing, bike touring. Now, over the last few years, have gotten hardcore, kind of stepped away from long distance hiking after the CET in 2021, kind of used it as a quote unquote retirement thru hike. And I guess of the long ones, right? Of like chasing like the Mexico to Canada's, or those kind of the infamous thru hikes, and getting more into more, I don't want to say experience, but a little more like off the beaten path route finding stuff, pack rafting, hiking through the Brooks Range in Alaska, mountaineering. I've gotten really big into mountaineering and alpine stuff over the last handful of years. Just kind of trying to mix it up, spice it up a little bit. The drug of thru hiking at some point, like you have to keep kind of upping the level of of the high, I guess, quote unquote. So I feel like I chased the dragon long enough of thru hiking, and now it's like I need something a little spicier. So started getting into all this kind of other dumb stuff outside. How far can I push my body, and then physical limits and mentally and yada yada. Yeah, I think that sums it up. I go outside and do stupid stuff, and typically I carry a camera with me. That's probably the best way to sum up the last 11 years of my life. I do dumb things outside with cameras.
People like watching dumb stuff too.
They do.
Yeah, they do. You're really good with a camera and stitching together videos. So I've always appreciated seeing those videos pop through my feed whenever I do see them.
But right on. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
Do you do you feel like these longer distance hikes have just kind of gotten mundane for you? Like the organized through hikes, like not the bushwhacking stuff or the route finding, but the organized stuff.
Yeah. And I've kind of had this conversation with people before. I didn't realize it when it was happening, but one, I'm a person that like, I'm kind of like, I like the old adage of like, what is it? A jack of all trades, master of none. Like I like to consistently try new things. And honestly, it's surprising that like I did kind of, it's weird to say like normal through hiking for so, and what I mean by normal through hiking is like the Triple Crown, all the national scenic trails, right? Like what people typically do as through hikes. It's strange that I stayed with it for that long because it's kind of not my personality. I really like to get into new things a lot. So I think after a while for me, it was like, and I don't know, it kind of almost sounds cocky or something, but like I knew, like when I went to go do the CDT, right? I'm like, well, I know I can hike from Canada to Mexico because I've had this challenge. It took me years to understand what I kind of fell out of love with in long distance hiking. And like for a long time, I'm like, well, it was mundane. It was boring. And I think there's a little bit of that that's true. Like I think after a while, like, you know, I know that I can hike from border to border. I know how to hitch into a town. I know how to resupply. I know how to do all these things, right? That are so exciting and fun when you get into it. But I don't think it was because of boredom. I think that for me, what made through hiking so exciting when I first got into it is because it was humbling, right? Because when you first get into anything, you have no clue about it. And if you're like me, like I love to figure things out. I'm like a problem solver. So getting into like the idea of long distance hiking, you know, inspired by a documentary and a book, and then you go out to do that first hike and you have no clue what the hell you're doing. You don't know how to resupply. You don't know how long it's going to take you to, you know, to get to the next town. You don't know how to hitch into a town. You're a total noob, total greenie. And I think that's why it's so fun and exciting is because it's humbling and you get to learn as you go. And then the gear comes in. It's like, oh shit, I got to figure out how to, you know, get more efficient and get lighter and how to be faster and all this stuff comes. But I think after you do it for so long, like anything, you kind of have mastered it, quote unquote. And you know all these things and you have your kit. You know what tent works for you and what pack, and kind of the whole discovery and the learning process is kind of over. And I'm also a person that thinks that like, you know, you're always learning, but to a point, that fresh, fun, exciting feeling that you get doing something new kind of fades away. And I think just throughout the years for me, because I was doing it nonstop. So I think where a lot of people will go through hike the AT and then like maybe they get a year, 2 years off and they go back to quote unquote normal life and work a job and blend back in with their family and friends and stuff like that. And then they get inspired to go do the PCT and they kind of go back and forth. When my wife and I set off in 2015, it was non-stop until kind of 2020. We were living out of a van full time. I was on trail like, God, 8-9 months out of the year. I would argue almost 12 months because if I wasn't doing a long hike, we were, you know, living out in national forest and national parks. I was always on trail, not to mention consistently making videos about that experience, talking about gear, helping to develop gear. So I kind of never left the trail for so many years that I think I got so wrapped up into it. At some point, I kind of found myself being like, oh, this doesn't really, I don't know, I'm not really learning anything new. It's not as exciting anymore. And at the time, I thought it was because I was burnt out, like just burnt out. I don't like this. And that wasn't it. It was more of, I think I was missing that new, exciting, humbling feeling. So when I went to go do the CDT, I kind of didn't want to go do the CDT. I didn't really have a desire to do it, but I used it. I was like, all right, I'm going to go hike the CDT and I'm going to get this famed Triple Crown thing that everybody else seems to think is such a, because I, for years, if you watch my videos, I for years talked about, I don't care about the Triple Crown. I don't hike because I want a t-shirt or a medal or to tell people I'm a Triple Crown. Like, that's not why I hike. And so I kind of like, as a rebel, I was like, I'm not going to hike the CDT. I don't want to be a Triple Crown. Totally stupid pride thing. Right. So when I went to go hike the CDT, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go out and do this trail. And if I get to the end of it and I still have that magical feeling when you finish a thru hike, that big accomplishment feeling, like I'm still in this. And like, I obviously I still love it and I still have a passion, but maybe that's not what I'll get. I want to see if I have a feeling. I'll never forget last day on trail, walking up to the monument, the Mexico border, and feeling nothing. And that sounds really like deep and mundane, but I just didn't feel this magic of like, I can't wait to do the next one. And I was just like, all right, I think I've kind of run my course on this. I think that I kind of did what I set out to do. I wanted to become a long distance hiker, and I wanted to do all these trails that I really wanted to do and really had a passion to do. And I wanted to talk about gear, and I wanted to share advice, and I wanted to inspire people, and I wanted to give back to the community, and I wanted to all the things that I did. Like, I wanted to use my voice to raise money and for public lands. And I wanted to give back because I did that for a long time. And I was like, I think that I kind of accomplished what I wanted to accomplish with this. Like, I don't think that I need to like force myself to keep doing something that I don't really get the spark from anymore. So I kind of was like, all right, I think that's it. And because of that, I got home from the CDT and I got all this footage. Like, I filmed for, 4 months of footage, and I was going to do this series, and I start putting the videos out. And about like the third video, I just had no passion to like edit the videos because I was just so like, I was over it. I was just like, well, like at this point, I'm just editing the videos for other people. I'm not doing it for myself. Like, I have the memory in my head and the experience, and that was fun, but like, I don't know. And then on top of that, I was having a real rough patch in my marriage because of hiking the CDT, which I shouldn't have went to do, not just for myself, but also I was needed at home. And I was like, I got to do this thing, which I didn't need to do, obviously. And so I was like, all right, I think I need to step away because I don't have anything else to offer right now for the YouTube audience and stuff like that. So I walked away from Thru-hiking, and I knew in order to do that and like almost kind of recharge myself, I needed to kind of step away from everything. So I stepped away from making videos about hiking, and I just kind of stepped away from YouTube. And at the time, I quote unquote quit YouTube. And even in that like video, I was like, if I feel like I ever have something to share again, or if I'm excited about stuff again, I'll come back and I'll make videos. But for right now, I'm kind of done. And then I took like a year and a half and went to go do all kinds of wacky shit outside. Like, I went to Nepal for a month. I went and cycled from all the way down the southern tip to the northern tip of Great Britain through England and Scotland. I got into pack rafting. I just went and did a bunch of different stuff and kind of found that spark again. And it was actually, I was on a trip in the Alps. I was doing even though I had stepped away from making videos and thru hikes, I was working with a company called Vagabond Trails. They did guided trips, and they asked me if I wanted to do a Tour de Mont Blanc. They're like, people can sign up, they can come hike with you, and it's a communal thing. I was like, yeah, it sounds cool. Let's do it. And obviously it was a gig, right? I didn't keep my lights on too. So I went to go do it. And to be 100% honest, hiking the Tour de Mont Blanc wasn't really my thing. I could really care less about like staying in a hut every night and eating a meal. It's just not my style.
It's bougie. But
it is bougie.
It's so bougie.
It's very bougie. And unless you like just eating a sole diet of bread and cheese, it's awful. Which I'm not a bread guy or a cheese guy. I starved that entire time. I've lost so much weight on the Tour de Mont Blanc because I just had nothing to eat. They don't like eating meat over there is what I've learned.
My God.
So I went to go do that trip, and it was fun, and I had a great time, great experience with the people I was with. Had a fun time connecting with. Like I said, I could care less about the hiking. I had fun with the people. And but a friend of mine And sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here. I told you, open a can of worms and I'll just spill it out.
Do it.
So like it was fun because I was hanging out with people, but I didn't really necessarily care about the hike. And while I was over there, I had a buddy that actually a guy that I finished the PCT with, a guy named Fez, big Canadian dude, big, tall drink of water. I was calling him my Canadian husband. Love him to death. He was engaged to a girl that was going to medical school in Geneva. And he's like, hey, why you're over here? And he's a big Alpine guy. Big Alpine, obviously, like grew up in the Canadian Rockies. He's like, while you're over here, you should take some extra time, book your flight going home a little bit late. We should hang out and do some stuff around Chamonix and up around the mountain. I was like, yeah, sounds cool. So we had met up before I went to go do the tour. And he's like, whenever you get done, give me a call. I'll come from Geneva. We can go hiking up on the glacier. He's like, you ever been up on the glacier? I'm like, no, man, I've never been anywhere on Mont Blanc. He's like, all right, yeah, we'll go hiking up on the glacier. We'll take the midi up. And I was like, okay, cool. So I got a hold of him, let him know when I was finishing. He meets up with me in Chamonix. And I remember him getting off the bus and he had a full pack with a full rack, helmet, boots, a couple ice axes. And I was like, what's up, man? And he's like, not much. And he's like, you ready to go up there? And I'm like, I guess. I thought you said we were going hiking. He's like, yeah, it's kind of like hiking. We need to go rent you some boots and a helmet and shit like that. I got an extra harness for you and axe. I was like, all right, man, what kind of, he's like, well, it's a glacier, so we probably need some stuff. Full-fledged Alpine trip. No hiking. We get up there, tethers me in, and like we traversed from the top of the Midi all the way across the glacier and over into Italy up a really interesting. We were supposed to do the Takul, I'm sure I'm butchering that because I can't speak French. The Mont Blanc Takul is what we were supposed to do, but we didn't do it because it was super windy that day, and there was an avalanche on the route that we were supposed to do when we decided to go the other way. Wild story. So, thank you, Fez, for making a good call at the last minute. So we were like on this ridge, and I'm climbing up this like super exposed rock, right? And I got to point to the story. Climbing up this super exposed rock. I am terrified of heights. Always been terrified of heights, but in a weird way. Like I'm terrified I can stand on the ledge of a cliff and that doesn't bother me. But being on top of a roof on a 2-story house scares the shit out of me. So it's like I have a weird thing with heights. So we got to go around this rock and there's this little bitty ledge and had to go around it and then go up it. And he's already done it. And he's got me on rappel. I come across this ridge. I'm holding onto the rock. And like, I don't know if you've ever done any type of like mountaineering or rock climbing or been like way out there. But I had that moment where you kind of look, like I kind of looked behind me and there was just like nothing for a really long time. Like I couldn't see because it was cloudy too. So it was just like the abyss. And it scared the absolute shit out of me. Like I started feeling like I was going to hyperventilate for a second. And I was like getting real nervous. And I remember like starting to shake. And like I look up at Fez and Fez is like, you're good, man. Just reach up here, grab this. And like it took me a second to like snap into it. Got up onto the ledge, standing there with him. And instantly, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Scared the shit out of me. And then I felt like, oh my God, I just got humbled for like the first time in years. It had been like 7-8 years of knowing what I'm doing and being quote unquote, a pro at it and kind of, everything being old hat as far as gear and hiking and hitching and putting in big miles and whatever. And here's something I know absolutely nothing about. I have no clue of the gear that I'm using. This just scared the shit out of me. I'm totally out of my element. And I like absolutely fell in love with it. And that's whenever, it was a long way of getting back to the story of like, that's whenever I realized that like, it's not that I like didn't like hiking. I just needed something to kind of humble me and kind of put me in my place again. And that's why I fell in love with thru-hiking in the first place. And I think that's why a lot of people get into thru-hiking. And that's why so many people like become serial thru-hikers, because somebody told me this a long time ago and I can't remember who and I can't remember what trail. They said it's like I said, I've never been a heroin addict, but I feel like it's akin to doing heroin. It's like you get that first high and then you're consistently chasing that first high. You're never going to get it. It's never going to come back. You're never going to get that first experience on your first trail and get your first hitch and come into like a hostel for the first time, drenching wet, cold, and hungry, and being able to like have that community experience with people and crack open a beer and like forget all that horrible shit you went through. You're never going to have that experience ever again. So you're constantly chasing it and chasing it and chasing it. And I feel like for a long time, that's what I was doing. I just didn't understand that like I just needed to break away and do something completely different to really make me fall back in love with like the outdoors, fall back in love with being in mountains and considering doing something like a through hike again. And last year I went and did a 400-mile quote unquote through hike through the Brooks Range in Alaska. Because like I was ready to come back to it, but do it in like a spicier way, like level up a little bit, be like, all right, let's go do some real dumb shit. And let's go hike through gates of the Arctic, 400 miles with a pack raft and a 60-pound pack on our back and see if we don't die.
Pretty rugged out there.
It was gnarly, man. It was one of the worst trips I've ever done. So yeah, I honestly don't remember the original question, but yeah, through hiking is like, it's still, I love through hiking, and I'm very proud of like all the trails I hiked and the people I met and the connections. And like, I wouldn't have a quote unquote career, if you want to call it that, without through hiking, without long distance trails. And I still love getting other people jacked about it and having conversations and sharing knowledge as much as I can with like videos and stuff. But, you know, for me anymore, it's like I'm always after kind of that new, humbling, exciting experience, something new that's going to get me jacked. And because for me, like I'm a creative, and like I need a new experience to make me feel creative and have fun making a video or talking about a topic. The whole reason I started like a YouTube channel in the first place was not because I was trying to become, quote unquote, as you say, a famous hiker. Like that was never my intention at all. That was total by mistake. It's never because I thought I could make money at it. Because at that time, 2015, nobody was doing it as a job. It was a hobby. Like hey, I did this thing. Now I'm going to share it and hopefully somebody will see it and they'll think it's cool. And that's what it was. Right. And like, maybe I can inspire somebody. Reading something like Jennifer Farr Davis's book inspired me to go do it. Like maybe I can make a stupid video where I talk about my backpack, and that'll inspire somebody else to do it. And that's my way to give back. So that's how it started. But, you know, over the years, it's been, I don't want to make I don't want to make content or a video if I'm not excited to make it and excited to share a new experience with somebody. If I'm sharing the same experience over and over and over again, like I'm not getting anything from it. And is the audience getting anything from it? I wouldn't think so. But yeah. It's been an interesting last handful of years trying to like sort through all of that. And that's where like a couple of years ago, 3, 4, going on 4 years now, I came back to YouTube because I was like, all right, now I feel like getting into mountaineering, winter backpacking, pack rafting, or bike packing. I'm excited to make videos again. So I'll start sharing more stuff. And it's been interesting over the past 4 years of like it being a completely different world than when I left it in like 2021, as far as what people want to watch, the audience, a lot of that stuff. So it's been an interesting thing to watch.
It's funny because you started doing all this for yourself, and you know, through hiking is a selfish activity. It is.
Thank you for saying that, because I bring this up all the time, and not to cut you off, but I just had a conversation with somebody the other day, and this is going to come off as shitty. People listening to this are probably going to turn their nose up and poo-poo this comment. But here's something I like. For a long time, I have always been more interested than anything else in through hiking in the community. But it also took me a long time to come to the understanding and the realization, as much as we all want to call it a community, it is a selfish act. Everybody's out doing a selfish act. You're trying to accomplish something for yourself, not the community. It's for yourself. And I think as long as people don't lie to themselves about that, it's caused a lot of problems over the years, because I think that a lot of people kind of want to cover that. And they're like, no, it's all about community. I'm like, it's not all about community. Like, It's not a communal event. It is a selfish event. You start the trail by yourself or maybe with a loved one. You finish the trail by yourself or maybe with a loved one. But it is not a communal activity. It's not a team sport. Through hiking is not a team sport. Or is any other endurance, ultra running, cycling, like triathlon. None of it is a team sport. It's all very selfish. It's a selfish act, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm glad that you said that because, man, I've like stressed that so many times to so many people. And as much as I like to believe that it is a community full of great people that are doing a selfish act, but full of great people. I have also personally been let down a lot over the years, approaching it like we are a big community and we all come up together and we all win together. And, you know, I help you, you help me, we all scratch each other's back. But that ain't the case because in the grand scheme of things, it is a big community full of very selfish people. And there's a lot of, you know, people stepping on people to finish, to make their goal, whatever that is, whether that's in business or whether that's on the trail itself I've been disheartened by that a little over the years because I always believed it was like, no, it's a community. We all help each other and we all do things. And I'm not saying that doesn't exist. But it is a very selfish thing, and it is full of very selfish people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that community doesn't exist within the through hiking world.
No, not at all.
Because it does.
Absolutely.
It totally does.
It's got a great community around it.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, like you saved up money so that you could go and do a walk for a really long time. You left everything behind. You're not contributing. And that's okay. It
is. I think where I've had an issue in the past and why I say this, and I'm sure I just started an entire new offshoot of a hate club for saying all that, which is fine. I'm good. We were having a pre-discussion. I'm 40 years old at this point. I'm not trying to make a bunch of new friends, so I don't really care. But
right there with you.
It is. I've been disheartened by it over the years because, like, you know, in 2019, 2020, I was trying to be a big advocate for public lands. And I was like, well, we're a community. We're this great community. And I have a platform. And all I got to do is step up and be like, hey, community, let's all pitch in together and give back to public lands and raise money and raise awareness. And I got told to fuck off by a lot of people that were supposed to be part of my community. So it's like, it's that aspect. Because at the time, I didn't realize it is. And again, it's fine that it's a selfish thing. It's like you go to do it to find peace for yourself, to find, to discover who you are. That's why a lot of people get into through hiking. It's like, I want to break away from the rat race and I want to find out who I am and I want to have a journey and self-discovery. And that's what it is. 100% that's what it is.
The Jolly Gear motto is where fun meets functional. And the owner, Jolly, truly wears that motto on his sleeve. Blending the comfort of a button-down with the sun protection of a sun shirt, Jolly Gear creates tops and dresses from an 84% polyester, 16% spandex blend that dries quickly and offers antimicrobial properties. With color patterns like disco leopard, kaleidoscope, pool party, and trail madness, you can expect only the most epic of double takes when walking by hikers on a trail with your Jolly Gear on. When we hiked the PCT in 2022, we made it to Bernie Falls only to have our sun shirts literally dissolving on our bodies. We reached out to Jolly Gear and he, free of charge, expedited 2 matching Casa orange sun shirts to us in Redding, California. We finished the trail in those shirts and still have them to this day. Marie especially loved the ponytail hole in the back of the hood that allowed for sun protection without discomfort when she wanted to stick a bun or a ponytail through it. You can snag 15% off of your order at jollygear.com by using the code YETI at checkout. That's YETI at checkout to get 15% off of your entire purchase at jollygear.com. Crafted by a through hiker for anyone who loves to go for a walk outside, check out jollygear.com to outfit your next hike with some high personality sun protection where fun meets functional. Thank you, Jolly, for sponsoring this episode and this podcast. So you have a platform, you're promoting conservation and protection of our public lands, and people are telling you to fuck off.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of people that had a big issue with me, like
why?
Trying to raise. I don't know. I got a comment that will forever be stuck in my psyche, and I know, like, anyone listening is like, that's why you don't read the comments. It comes with the territory. whatever you're saying right now as you listen to this, I've heard it all. Okay.
Yeah.
But the thing, there's a very specific comment that has been stuck in it's forever imprinted into my brain, and it will never leave, because I'll never forget. It was a big turning point for me with how I saw things and how I saw what I said and how the audience reacted. And I'll never forget. I said something in a video as I don't like to support certain companies that don't share the same ethics that I do when it comes to conservation in public lands. I said something like akin to that in the video. And the comment read, "Who gave you a degree in ethics? Shut up and fucking review the backpack, asshole." I will never forget that to the day I die. It was just it just imprinted in my brain, because before that I was like very happy-go-lucky, like, hey, the audience, we're all one big YouTube community. We all love each other, and I'm sharing information and you're watching, and this is great. And that comment like struck a chord so hard. But here's what I'll say to that. It took me a long time to understand it. And I'm not bitter about it. I'm not sour about any of that, because I finally understood that people come to things like thru-hiking, any outdoor recreation, even watching YouTube videos, coming to watch a YouTube video, listen to a podcast right now, as escapism from everyday, hard, rough life, whether that's like paying your bills, working your job, wanting something better for your life, problems at home, friends, family, whatever it is. And whenever you come onto a platform that people are using as escapism and you say you should care about this thing, I totally understand why people get turned off by that. It makes total sense to me. So I was bitter for a long time about that, because I was just like, why doesn't anybody care? Why can't I get people to care? Why can't I get people to support this thing? Why can't I get people to step up, go out and volunteer for your local trails, all that stuff? Because I was like, I have this platform. I'm going to use it for good. I understand why people turned their nose up at it and said, like, shut up. Just talk about the thing I want you to talk about. Just talk about the thing I want you to. I'm here to listen to you talk about backpacks, not to give me a lesson in ethics and what we should be doing as a community. So I totally get it. But yeah, it was interesting to say the least, that I kind of experienced that for a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's par for the course, man.
Yeah.
I'm sure that'll happen with us, because I've started turning episodes into conservation related topics. And you know what? I mean, that's my prerogative. Folks can listen. They don't have to, but I hope they do. Yeah,
it is. And like, for me, it's always been, you got to follow your passions and follow like what your heart's in, and like what you believe in, what you think's right, what you think's wrong. Now, if like you're into like being a serial killer, I'm not talking to you. Like, I'm not, like, not at all. If it's good, if it like something you truly believe, like something to stand up and fight for, you should use your platform. You should use your voice. I definitely think that, for sure.
Sure.
But also, like, don't be shocked if, like, you know, people come to crucify you afterwards, because
I've already seen some stuff.
It's definitely part of it. But I also think that, like, if you're a true creative, and I've said this for years, if you're a true creative, whether it's being a YouTuber, a podcaster, a filmmaker, a writer, whatever, if you're not 100% creating, following your own passions, you're doing it wrong. You're not creating. At that point, you're just performing. Like, you're performing for somebody if you're not truly following your creative passions and your creative ideas. I've always said I'm a really bad YouTuber because of that. Like, I'll make what I want to make first before making anything else. Like, if I make video a bunch of people will watch it and I'll make a bunch of money. But my heart's not really in it, and I could really care less, and it doesn't feel creative. Or if I make video B, my heart's in it, I feel really creative about it, and I know for a fact that only 10% of those people are going to watch it, and it'll never make me money. I'm going to go with B every time.
But you love it.
Yeah, but I feel good about it at the end of the day, and it excites me, and it's fun to me. So yeah, it's an interesting space to be in, the whole, like, being a creator or being the term I absolutely despise, an influencer. I hate it. I hate that term so much. Oh man, you really want to turn me off? Call me an influencer.
There's a lot of negative connotation there.
There is. And I think because when I think of influencer, I think of, and like no shade to these people, because like good for you and you got an audience, but like it's your like person, like teeny bopper on Instagram or TikTok being like, you know, check out this blah, 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 blah. These like doing that as a, like they're not actually creating anything. They're just being them and they're promoting products. That's an influencer. Like I'm going to influence you to like this thing. But like I've always considered myself more of like a storyteller, a filmmaker, I hated this for a long time, an athlete. Like I'm out doing things and I'm creating things. But like if I happen to influence somebody off of the things that I suggest or that I talk about, that's just like a byproduct of it. But I am not intentionally trying to influence people to buy things. That's not my goal. My goal is just to be creative and tell stories and share knowledge. So yeah, that's why I personally despise that as a label for myself, because it's just that ain't what is behind my drive. Like that's not what's driving me to make content, is to influence people to buy a thing. Never has been. That's why I'm a bad YouTuber.
Yeah. But you do make great content, and that got you a following, and you became, like I said earlier, quote unquote famous in the hiking world.
Which is bizarre. Total mistake.
Which is bizarre because famous is subjective, right? It's
sure.
And you didn't put yourself there. That wasn't the intent. You were put there by the people that, you know, followed and supported whatever you were doing.
And like with all that being said, like I'm very like humbled and very appreciative of that. Like anyone that's ever followed anything, anyone that's ever watched any video I've ever made, listened to one of my podcasts, liked a thing on Instagram, looked at a thing on Instagram. Like, thank you so much, like, for giving me the world that I have, that I've been able to craft and have my own. Like, I'm not appreciative of it, but
totally.
At the same time, you know, it was never my intention. It just kind of accidentally happened.
Serendipity at its best for you. Well, yeah, I'm glad it happened for you, though.
Yeah.
Anything with the word goat in it automatically grabs my attention, but I'm also kind of partial to watching those fainting goat videos on YouTube. I first came across Sky Goat, not up in the clouds, but here in Colorado at a sustainability conference, and immediately became hooked with the cozy yet lightweight gear that Ram, its founder, comes up with. Sky Goat creates technically functional, comfortable, and yet stylish apparel built for adventure, travel, and everyday life. Made with custom goat grid recycled fleece fabric and thoughtful design, the gear delivers lightweight warmth, breathability, and all-day comfort wherever the outdoors takes you. I wear my camp hoodie on a near daily basis when it's cold outside. It's cozy, sexy, and it keeps the cold edge off when hiking or when out in the field. Ram is giving away a free beanie, neck gaiter, or even a pair of gloves to one lucky listener. Go start following Sky Goat on Instagram, tag us at Yeti Walks into Base Camp, and 2 of your friends on your favorite Sky Goat post, and the first person to do that will be the lucky winner of their choice between a beanie, gaiter, or a pair of gloves. First come, first serve. We'll be sure to reach out to you when you do it. If you like the goat grid feel, you can hike on over to skygoatusa.com for your own hoodie, beanie, gloves, or even a poncho. Plug in the code YetiWalks20, that's YetiWalks20 to get 20% off of your entire purchase. Thanks, Ram, for sponsoring this episode and for believing in our show. So that kind of brings me into the question of elitism and the thru-hiking community. And I'd say thru-hiking because it's all really, it's walking outside, but we slap this label of thru-hiking, and we are thru-hikers, and this is the thru-hiking community. And everybody who doesn't do a thru-hike, if they're a section hiker or just a weekend warrior, like they're beneath my level. Like,
right. And, which is kind of funny.
We've talked to several people about this.
It's just walking, bro.
It's just walking. Yeah.
With a bunch of expensive shit on your back.
Thousands of dollars of equipment.
Talk about a privileged activity.
Dude, we are so privileged. And I admit that I am privileged, I am lucky, and I'm grateful to have had the chances to do these hikes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What do you see as like the whole thing with elitism in our community here in the thru-hiking world? And I don't know. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So I think there's 2 sides of that. Like, I think there are definitely, and I wouldn't say just through hike. I think just all outdoor, especially over the last handful of years, like there's a lot of elitism that I think is built off of the same thing with everything in our society. So it's built off of tribalism. I think there's a lot of elitism that comes from tribalism, is I use this type of gear. I buy this type of tent and I buy this type of backpack, and anything else is garbage and anything else is trash. I think there's a lot of elitism that comes from that. I think there's always been a lot of elitism that comes from like the whole ultralight crowd. And there's a label that I try to give these people that I don't know if I should say here because I might get in trouble for saying it.
Use the words.
I'll say it to you off mic. No, because I don't know if there's a negative connotation to it. Like if I say it, if it's really negative, like in a different way, not just towards those people.
Sure.
Well,
define it then.
Define it. It's a bunch of people on internet, Reddit forums, and different forums, Facebook groups that are one of my favorite terms ever. And I'll say this one, Thru-hiking cosplayers, people that buy a bunch of ultralight gear and shave the handle off their toothbrush and like talk a bunch of shit about like gear and going crazy ultralight, but don't actually get out and do anything with it. Just actually talk about it all the time. Because what I found over the years is you experience less of those people. Like I have rarely ever experienced that guy on the trail, but you'll see it all over the damn internet. You'll see all these people talking about what they're going to do and how they're going to go crazy ultralight and their 5-pound base weight and all this goofy shit, but they're never actually going out and putting any miles. Or maybe they're going out and just doing like a little weekend trip, but talking big game, like they're going to. So there's a lot of elitism that comes with that, which I think is just the silliest shit in the world, because you know this, like when you're out on trail, people don't really talk about that shit. Like everybody's just like nice to each other. And like now, whether those people go and say something behind somebody's back is a different story, but like, you don't get that shit in person. Nobody says stuff like that. No one's ever been like, I've never walked up to somebody on the trail and just been like, 60-liter pack, huh? Interesting. Like shit just doesn't happen. Like people don't say shit like that.
No. Yeah, for the record, I call those people armchair hikers.
Oh yeah. Total armchair hikers. Or honestly, I've had the opposite happen. I've had people see me on trail, and anyone that ever carries a small pack through hike will probably relate to this. You'll run into somebody and just be like, "Oh, you out for a day hike?" I'm like, "No, I'm hiking from Canada to Mexico." And they're like, "Oh, that's all you're carrying?" I'm like, "Yep." And they're like, "Oh, good luck." Shit like that, of like the reverse elitism, which is like, that's all you're carrying? You're going to die out there, idiot. So yeah, I think there's a lot of that elitism, but I also think that there's a lot of elitism that is created off of false narratives. And what I mean by that is I think there's a lot of people that create these false narratives of what elitism is. I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. I feel like I've just, because of like reading comments, I'll make a video where I want to talk about like, my favorite tent and what's worked for me over the years, right? And I'll say things like, over 10 years and 15,000 miles. And inevitably, somebody will leave a comment like, why do you got to brag about how many miles you've hiked? I'm like, it's not bragging. I'm just giving you my credentials before I give you my opinion. I'm just giving you my credentials. I'm proud of the things that I've done. Therefore, I am going to state them as my credentials before I tell you why I think this thing is great, because I used it over thousands of miles. Those are better credentials than someone saying, I think this is the best thing because I used it one time. But people take that as like, well, you're being an elitist and saying an elitist thing. It's like, am I an elitist, or are you self-conscious? I can't say that word. Cautious because you think that because you haven't done that, you are less than. I'm not saying I'm better than, but do you think that you're less than because I said something that you haven't done? So I think there's this weird like false narrative elitism. I experience that a lot in my own personal content and stuff that I say, which I find really fascinating, because if I'm going to like take advice from somebody, or especially like when it comes to gear and shit, right? Like if I'm going to take advice from somebody, like I want to know their credentials of like, well, yeah, you say that thing's great, but like, why is it great? Like, how many times have you actually used it? Like how many, if it comes down to like hiking stuff, like, well, how many nights have you put on that tent? How many miles have you hiked in those shoes to like tell me that this is a great thing or a bad thing? So I find that really fascinating that there is, again, this false narrative elitism that kind of happens.
Look, if I'm on some Reddit thread and I'm getting medical advice, I want to know that that person's a doctor.
No shit,
or
right?
They've had medical training, right? Like, credentialing is not bad.
Right. And I just think there's a lot of people that like hear stuff like that and like they take it in a offense or something of like,
yeah,
which is really bizarre to me. Like I would never, if somebody told me the things that they had done before giving me advice or sharing something with me, I'd be like, oh, well, I can trust this person because of what they've done with this thing that they're giving advice on. I find it strange that there's a lot of people that don't think that way and take it that way. Or they're just like, you're an elitist because you said that you hiked 10,000 miles. And it's like, no, I just figured you might want to know before you take advice from me on the thing that I'm talking about.
But also, yes, I have walked 10,000 miles.
Yeah. And that's just being proud of like, things that I'm from the Midwest. Like, dude, we're pride driven folk. Anything like just from Southern Indiana, like anything you do, you're crazy proud of. And you want to tell everybody, like stand from the rooftops and tell people like, I did this thing. I bought this house. I built this car. I got this job. Like we're proud people. You know what I'm saying? So
there's nothing wrong with that.
No, hell no. No, it just comes through with it. So yeah, yes, I think that there is quite a bit of elitism when it comes to that. On the reverse, I guess not reverse side, on the other side of that, there is a lot of unspoken elitism or behind the scenes, I'll say, elitism going on in the whole hiking community and hiking industry. As far as like, there's a lot of people and companies that are in bed with each other that are very much like, keep everybody else out and we're going to do this and we're going to make this money and we're going to get more famous and we're going to get more popular. So there's a lot of that going on too that I think a lot of people don't see when it comes to quote unquote elitism, which is interesting because again, I recently had a conversation with someone that brought up a lot of this type of stuff. And I was like, oh, that's kind of fascinating. And just some of the stuff I've seen over the years. And for that type of stuff, most people don't need to know about all that stuff, the dirty laundry behind the scenes, I guess, as it were. But yeah, there's elitism, I think, plays a role in a lot of things, but I think most of it isn't necessarily elitism because of like what you would think of like, you're an elitist because you're a billionaire and you have all the money in the world and you think you're better than everybody. I think it's more elitism due to tribalism. I am ultralighter. I am not. I am a backpacker. I am a thru-hiker. I have hiked. I've only been on one weekend trip. I've hiked 10,000 miles. And I think people jump into their tribes and they get into that. And anything outside of their tribal thought that is different can be considered quote unquote elitism. Which is fascinating.
And we used to be part of that tribe. You know, we were the continuous footpath, do as much as red line as you can. If you skip it, you're not a thru-hiker tribe.
Absolutely.
And we've deconstructed thru-hiking a lot. And I want everybody to know that the reason I even reached out to Darwin to be on the show is not because I thought he was famous.
Because he thought I was an elitist.
Yeah, I thought he was an elitist.
He's like, this piece of shit.
I know. God damn it. Why are you on the show? No, it's because he made a post. To summarize the post, it was covering, imposter syndrome. And he was basically saying, if you feel like you're not doing enough, but you're doing something, like you're doing enough, you just don't feel like you are, in so many words. And one thing that we have been coming across lately, and I've done it in my own hiking, I call it a career, but just since I've been doing a lot of backpacking, is I'll use the word just a lot. I've just hiked the PCT, not the Triple Crown, or I'm just doing a weekend hike, not the whole thing. And like, that's not fair to myself,
like an excuse,
but that's not fair. Yeah, but that's not fair to other people too, because they shouldn't feel like they have to say, I'm just doing that because these other people do these awesome things.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that. And like, that's something I battled with for so many years too, because not just because of thru-hiking, like that's, again, that pride driven thing. That's just kind of part of my personality. I've always had imposter syndrome, no matter what it is that I do, like hiking, cycling, being a husband, being a business owner, any of that stuff. Like everybody has, here's the secret, folks. everyone has imposter syndrome, and nobody has a fucking clue what they're doing on this little blue and green ball spinning around in space. We're all absolutely clueless. We're all dumb as shit. Nobody knows anything. I think when you accept that and understand that, it makes things a lot easier in life, that none of us have a clue what we're doing. Everybody's just trying to figure it out as we go.
Getting by, baby, getting by.
Yeah, and as you get older, it's easy. Like you start putting on, it's easier to convince yourself and convince everyone else you know exactly what you're doing, but nobody knows shit. I think that there's a lot of that. And I think I've always felt like I've always wanted to put my heart on my sleeve as much as possible and tell people that, like, hey, because I think, again, there's that false narrative thing, right? I think there's a lot of people that, you know, see me and they're like, oh, your job is making YouTube videos and hiking and you own a gear company. You just must be doing so great. You're living I get that comment all the time. Like, living the dream. I'm like, you have no clue the nightmare that I live every single day of my life. Multiple times. Like, you think owning a business is living the dream? Talk to anyone that's ever owned a business. It is a fucking nightmare.
Self-inflicted nightmare,
dude. And it's like, I think that is a big like byproduct of social media. It's like people curate all the good shit, and then you get FOMO because you see somebody else and you think everyone else is just having this great life and doing these great things. It's like, no, I'm just showing you highlights of my life. But what I didn't show you is all this horrible shit, like the 20 horrible things that happened to this one good thing, which is funny because I'll post something or make a video and people will have a negative reaction to it. A perfect example. I went and did a big through hike 400 miles through Alaska last year. And I had a horrible time. Like, I'm not going to hide that. It sucked ass. When people are like, wasn't it pretty? No, it was terrible. It was ugly. Hated it. I was up there for 17 days. There was 2 pretty days. Like, wasn't it just magical? No, it wasn't magical. It was torture. I got tortured for 17 days. Self-inflicted torture.
You were getting dumped on, yeah?
Yeah. No. Opposite. It was boiling hot. They were having a heat wave.
Oh, geez.
During the summer solstice. So sun never set. Sun was up all the time. I got heat exhaustion twice. One time on camera. And that's the thing that I'm speaking to. In the past, you know, you make a pretty YouTube video of like, look at these pretty sights and it's Alaska and it's amazing. And, you know, you cut out like that time whenever you tripped on the route and smashed your face onto a rock, because nobody wants to see that. So you take that out. But like for this series, a very impactful thing that happened on the trip is like, I got heat exhaustion really bad one day. I overheated so much. My brain started literally boiling and I fucking lost it. I absolutely lost it. I was under stress. I was under a bunch of shit. I lost my mind. I had a nervous breakdown. I took a trekking pole. I snapped it. I flung it into the air, all caught on camera because my good old buddy Jonathan wasn't going to miss that moment with his camera. And instead of leaving it out, like a lot of people probably would, I put it in because I'm like, that's real. That's the shit that happens on a through hike. You know this. A lot of awful shit happens on a through hike. Everyone's like, it's so romantic hiking from Mexico to Canada.
Bullshit.
Yeah, bullshit. You know how miserable it is most days, and mundane and awful, and how hungry and hot and cold and wet you are. So like, I'll put that stuff in content, and then inevitably people will have an issue with it. People will pick it apart. People will just be like, you're such a drama queen. And I'm like, I'm just being real. I'm just showing you a real thing. Just putting it out there. So same thing on like, you know, like that Instagram post. In 11 years of doing all the YouTube videos and Instagram stuff and sharing my life and adventures and personal stuff, out of everything I've done, the last since October. So what's that been? 8 months? Is that 8 months? Terrible short math.
It's all right.
Worst point of my life. Up until 2 months ago, I had the worst. About 6 months of my life was the worst stint in the past 11 years. Went through a lot of shit, a lot of personal things, a lot of mental things, a lot of physical things, things with friends, family, business partners. My business almost went under. I almost had to close my doors. A lot of shit went horribly wrong over the past 6 months of my life. So when I put that post up, I was literally feeling like dog shit. And I just kind of felt like writing something to like let everyone else know, like, hey, it ain't all roses and rainbows over here. Like, I'm in it with you. Like, if you're going through the shit and life sucks, like, I'm right there with you, and hopefully it'll be better and it'll turn around. And like, that's all I knew to post that day. And I remember I showed it to a friend before I posted, because I always run shit by people, because I'm getting kind of that perfectionist, right? Of like, oh, does this sound good? Am I gonna get in trouble? Am I being an asshole? So
what a creator.
Yeah, right. Stupid chasing perfection that will never be. And they're just like, you're going to post that? And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to post it. And they're like, that's pretty deep, man. And I'm just like, it's real and it's how I feel. And just, if people don't like it, people don't like it. And I remember posting it, just being like, people are going to crucify me for this, because that's what they do. Like, and like handful of months before that, I posted a video with me breaking down and throwing a trekking pole into the air, and people lost their mind over that. And no, it was really nice that a lot of people like connected with that. And it made me realize that like something I've been kind of struggling with personally for years of making content is, when I first started making YouTube videos, I wasn't trying to become popular. I wasn't trying to make money. It wasn't none of that. That was not never a thought that went through my head. I was working at a bike shop. I was away from the trail. I was away from my quote unquote community. And I needed an outlet. And I was like, I'm going to just put my heart on my sleeve and turn on a camera. And I'm fucking super camera shy, which you couldn't tell now. But like at the time, I was just like, I'm awkward as shit. I'm going to turn on this camera and I'm going to start talking about something. And I'll put it on the internet. And like, hopefully like people don't call me an asshole. And like just being real and being authentic and being me is what people were attracted to. And it's what inspired people. And it's what, like, when you say something like, we had people come up to us and say like they were out there because of Darwin. Like, that was my goal. That was the only goal I ever had in it. So like over the last year, I'm just like, I'm going through shit right now. I'm going to just be authentic, and I'm going to post that, and I'm going to put the heart on the sleeve and let people know that like, hey, that's how we're all feeling. Like, that's how everybody's going through the shit. But like, we're all going through shit together, because none of us know what we're doing. Or again, kind of going back to that, is like, we all have imposter syndrome, and none of us have our shit figured out. Nobody. If you think anybody has from the poorest person in the world to the richest billionaire, like, none of us know what the hell we're doing. Some of us are just way better at faking it than the others.
And if you think you know what you're doing, you're living a lie.
Absolutely. You don't know shit if you think that you know shit.
Yeah. Boobies. It feels odd recording this without Basecamp, but I feel confident talking about boobs without her, especially because of the need for more backpacking equipment that accommodates bodies with a bit more curve. Sarah Berkeley, founder of Symbiosis Gear, also saw that need and decided to do what she could to fill the niche. So she whipped out a pen, paper, and a sewing machine to create the Aspen backpack. When Basecamp and I hiked the Colorado Trail last year, she took the Aspen pack with her and was a huge fan of the S-curve straps and how they were far less restricting on her body than a typical J-shaped strap, intended for more slender and, dare I say, masculine body types. The pack also has a 3-way adjustable strap and weighs around 1 pound and 9 ounces. Hike over to symbiosisgear.com and use the code YETI15 to get 15% off of the Aspen pack. That will save you almost $50, folks. Thanks, Sarah and Symbiosis Gear, for being so darn awesome and supporting folks, especially women, who get outside. And that's where we're going to stop for today. We hope you enjoyed the first half of this conversation, super deep and insightful, with Nick Darwin Rakestraw, as we're covering topics including hiking, elitism, imposter syndrome. And then next week, we'll talk a little bit more about this and a bike race that he has coming up. Thanks, Darwin, for taking the time from being a small business owner and selling outdoor equipment with Evolve Supply Co., and for being real and authentic with me on the show. And also a huge thanks to the Fire Once Lost for letting us use Appalachian Trail for our intro and outro music, as always. And most importantly, thanks to you, our listener. We wouldn't be here without you. Whether you're out there doing some epic trek up in the French Alps, or if you're backpacking the CDT, or doing your cute little dog walk in the backyard, or as Darwin's about to do, you'll find out in the next episode, going on a bike race across North America, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what you're doing, because we're all just outside walking. Just wanted to let you know that here at our show, Yeti Walks into Base Camp, we don't use AI for anything. AI has detrimental impacts on our environment, and we just don't want any part of it. So just know that when you're listening to our episodes, each one is hand edited by our team with talent and integrity. Thanks for listening.